Hello and welcome to the She Thrives Plant-Based Strong and Free Summit. I'm Margot Freitag. I'm the founder and host of this awesome global event where we are helping women who are really ready for change to take their health to the next level, to take their wellness and their whole overall well-being to the next level. And that might not even just be physically, it might be emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. And of course, this is achievable for all of us. And what happens is when we realize this untapped potential, a whole new world of opportunity opens up for us. And of course, really all we need to do is change a few things, just get the food right, think a little bit differently, manage our minds, and continue to learn about ourselves and our bodies and our health. And today's interview is going to help us so much with this. And I am so excited and honored to introduce you to our next guest. Dr. John McDougall is a physician and nutrition expert. He is one of the great pioneers, actually maybe the greatest pioneer in teaching the merits of a plant-based or vegan diet for health recovery and disease reversal even. He is the author of several books, including my personal favorite, The Starch Solution. For obvious reasons, we all love starch. And I feel so blessed, and we are so grateful to have Dr. McDougall with us here today. So thank you, Dr. McDougall, for joining us.
Well, thank you very much. I don't know really how to start this interview. I mean, you picked one of my favorite topics, which is women. What can I say? I've been in love with one woman for 47 years. I've got one woman as a daughter and one as a mother. So, I have a particular interest, as obvious, as a doctor, as a family man, as a man in general, to talk about women. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself, because I'm going to degenerate to an analogy I haven't used for almost 10 years. And unless you appreciate my sense of humor, you're not going to get this. And you may end up hating me by the time I get done with what I have to say. But first, I want you to know I'm a regular doctor. I'm a board-certified internist. I'm licensed to practice medicine in 5 states. I hold clinical positions at 5 universities teaching medical students. I run a clinic in Santa Rosa, California, a living clinic where people come from all over the world. We usually have 50, 60 people every month or two, and we take them off. Well, our data is very clear. We take nearly 90% of people off their blood pressure pills, diabetic pills, and other medications. Average drop in cholesterol is 20 points. Average weight loss maintained for a year is 20 pounds. Can you believe that? And the average weight loss in 7 days is 3.5 pounds. So anyway, we have lots of published scientific research. I'm a regular standard medical doctor. I don't want you to start thinking of me as an unorthodox, a quack or anything like that. I'm just a regular old general doctor who happens to take care of my women patients and my men patients from a little different point of view. One is that I deal with the cause of their problem. And I have to tell you right now, 80% of the problems that you folks, I'm talking about you folks, have out there are due to the food you eat. And by the time I finish this presentation, you'll know exactly what to do. It's going to be very, very, very simple. The other thing has to do with my analogy that I'm going to go into right now. And that has to do with the way the medical business treats its customers, particularly its women. In the United States, we have a male-dominated medical system. You would agree, right?
Absolutely.
And women get more prescriptions, they get more visits, they get, more of everything than males do. A male-dominated medical system, to say the least. Well, you would think, based upon standard medical practice, that somehow God had a bad day when he designed women.
Really?
I mean, think about it. Think about it. They can't deliver their babies. I mean, in the United States, 30% of them have to have their babies taken out through their belly, not their vagina. And in Brazil, it's somewhere around 80%. So they can't deliver babies naturally. They have breasts that fall apart when they're in their 30s and 40s into cancer and other kinds of diseases. Their uteruses bleed too heavy. They develop tumors. They fall out. Iron deficiency anemia is typical in women. What else about women? I mean, I could go on and on and on about women. God must have had a lazy day when he designed women. or, folks, we're doing something really terrible to women.
Yeah.
And women are falling apart. I think they're falling apart at a similar rate as men. It's just, you know, maybe they make it more vocal or it's more obvious. And again, this is a chauvinistic, sexist type of system. And you're going to have a trickle-down effect regardless of what you do until you change the dominance practice towards women. And that would mean a majority of women doctors, administrators, et cetera. And that's just not the case. Okay, so I think women are supposed to be healthy. I think they're supposed to live about the same length of time as men, although they do live longer. But I think it's because of their natural qualities and characteristics. In general, I would say women are more moderate, or have been in the past. That's been my perception. They're more moderate. So they certainly smoked less in the past. I mean, we're talking about 100 years ago. They didn't smoke at all. They certainly were less obvious public drunks. And probably they were a little more conscious about their eating, not only because they themselves had to eat, but they had to prepare the food for the family. So food was very important to women. So I think that's the major reason that women outlive the men. It's not a gender difference. I think it's because, you know, God doesn't particularly like women more than men. It's just that women are more, just by nature, they have been in the past more moderate. But of course, that's changed these days. I mean, obesity is more prevalent, it appears, in women, at least my observation, than men these days. Certainly, if you looked at the hospital admissions or doctor's office visits, you'd see that women are sicker than men. But again, that has a lot to do with the male-dominated medical business. But it's not right. You're supposed to keep your breasts for your entire life. You're supposed to be fertile and be able to produce healthy, normal offspring until around age 48 years old. I mean, God wouldn't have made the mistake of giving you menstrual periods and ovaries and eggs to have babies till you were almost 50 years old if that wasn't the purpose. But the problem is that women eat so terrible on the American diet that by the time they're 20 or 30, they've accumulated so much poison in their system. And these poisons can come in the form of just the obvious food, all the meat and the dairy, et cetera, or in the environmental contaminants like your organophosphates, your pesticides. It's found, for example, that trisomy 21, which is Mongolism. I don't think that's the right term anymore. The trisomy 21 is more common in males that have a low folic acid intake and females that have a low folic acid intake. Well, folate only comes from plants.
Right.
So they're all, and as far as our common deformities, like spina bifida. Do you know what spina bifida is?
Yeah.
It's where the back is open. The baby is born and they're often paralyzed, half paralyzed. And I've been on 2 deliveries when I was a young doctor where the babies were born without brains. Anencephaly, it's called. Cleft lips, heart deformities, and so on are due to the diet. They are dietary diseases. In this case, it's been focused on folic acid. And that's why women are asked to take folic acid. Well, excuse me, folate, foliage, plants. It's because you're eating a plant deficient diet. You've got to substitute with a vitamin pill before you get pregnant, not after, too late afterwards. So, you know, it's just a terrible, terrible situation when it comes to women because of the reasons that I mentioned. But they have the potential to be beautiful, healthy, fully functional until normal lifespan, which is about, I don't know, maybe 85 years old.
Dr. McDougall,
so
you know what?
That's what I think.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Thank you. Super, super true.
Did you get my analogy? Or do you really think I hate women?
No, I know you love women. I know you do.
You know, it's so ridiculous. Isn't it ridiculous that women,
Right. Well, and then there's so much confusion just to keep everybody guessing and wondering what to do. And I would be willing to guess that, you know, a lot of the women listening to this interview right now are terrified of starch, terrified of starch. And so, in fact, I was on a call with a woman earlier today who was saying, you know, isn't it better to eat chicken breast than to eat like potatoes? So can we just clear that up, please?
Yeah, I would like to deal with the starch thing, but let me finish my tirade.
Oh yeah, go.
Yeah,
sure.
You know, when it comes to prostate cancer and breast cancer, they're analogous in men and women. They're basically the same disease. Just one occurs in the breast, the other occurs in the prostate. But breast examination, self-examination, mammograms, etc., are pushed more heavily for women than PSAs and digital rectal exams for men. As a matter of fact, the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force came out almost 20 years ago and told men to stop getting DREs, digital rectal exams, and PSA tests. But they're still pushing mammograms.
Big time.
Big time. You know, Canada in 2001 told their citizens not to do breast self-examination anymore because they found more problems than it cured. And they've been very lean on mammograms. You know, it's the United States mainly that's so heavily on women's issues. You know, let me give you another analogy. I don't know, something about you just brings me out. I have refused. I've been in medicine for half a century, more than half a century. And I've been doing dietary medicine, food medicine for 40 years. And, but I'm a doctor, a regular doctor. I take care of patients. I make general recommendations for them as far as medicine goes. And I have refused to recommend breast self-examination to women for my entire career because the evidence clearly says you find more problems than you solve. And like I say, the Canadian Task Force on Preventive Medicine back in 2001 told you to stop doing it. Now, until we remove gender bias, excuse me, remember I told you the prostate is analogous to the breast?
Yeah.
Until we remove gender bias and we start asking men to do prostate self-examinations, I'm not going to recommend breast self-examination.
Right, okay.
It is anatomically possible, by the way, to do a prostate self-examination. Or, you know, sometimes men will joke about their wives. They'll say, oh, I love to do her breast self-examination. Well, excuse me, ladies, it's your turn. Tell them to bend over.
No, thank you.
Discrimination, sexual bias.
All
right. I'll get to the serious part of this conversation. I'm sorry if it's boss you that just brought out the evil part of me.
I love it.
You know. Anyway, that's my sense of humor.
I love it.
You want to know about starch. All right. Are you listening? Are you listening carefully? Okay.
I'm listening.
I'm gonna say something to you that's gonna change your life. If you think about it, and then you think about it, you know, several times a day, every day, it'll become clear to you. And that is, listen to my words now, all large, successful populations of people throughout all of verifiable human history have obtained the bulk of their calories from starch. Let me give you some examples. Aztecs and Mayans are known as the people of the
corn.
Thank you very much. And Asians would be typically known as what kind of eaters?
Rice.
Rice. 90% of their diet is rice. And the Irish, for a period of time, had to live on all what?
Potatoes.
Potatoes. 99.99% of people who've ever walked this earth have attained the bulk of their calories from starch. And they competed in Olympic events. They fought wars. They had hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of people die on battlefields, all powered by rice and corn and beans and potatoes. Don't give me this garbage that starches are bad or fattening. And let me tell you also, one of the historical things that you could look up is a excavation in Ephesus, which is now Turkey, present-day Turkey. Lots of coliseums in that particular place on Earth, Roman coliseums, and they used to have lots of battles there. Well, they unearthed a grave, a 60 square foot grave, and they found, oh, excuse me, it wasn't 60 foot, it didn't matter. They found 60 skeletons in this grave, and these skeletons had the tools of occupation of these men, which were shields and swords and tridents, and they had trident holes in their heads. So they could tell by the skeletons that they were all male, and they could tell by the tools of occupation that they were gladiators. And then they analyzed their hair and their bones. And what they found out was, in this case, they just analyzed bones, but you can do hair too. What they found out was that the gladiators were vegan. They consumed no animal products. And historically, if you look through the writings about gladiators, they're known as the barley men. So they lived on a diet of barley and rice. Excuse me, that's a starch.
Yeah.
Well, why do you think the gladiators were known as the barley men? They lived on barley and not meat like the people living outside the Coliseum. Why? Because it's bad form to lose in the Coliseum. Right, you don't get to come back a second time. So the people who owned these racehorses, I mean, the gladiators were the movie stars of the past. They could have anything they wanted, any woman they wanted. They could have a queen, a princess. They could have any food they wanted. They could have well, no, they couldn't have any food they wanted because their owners, just like a good racehorse going to the Kentucky Derby, made sure that they were properly fueled so that they win the battle. Now, that's the old gladiators. That's from 1,800 years ago. How about today's gladiators? How about the gladiators that run in the Boston Marathon, Chicago Marathon, Honolulu Marathon, etc.? These people live on starch-based diets, either because they learned it here, but more commonly because they learned it in Ethiopia or Kenya. Right. The winners of the races that I just mentioned are from Ethiopia and Kenya. And they're the last 4 races I'm aware of. Their diet is 80% corn. Runner's World and other magazines write about why are these winners? Why do they keep winning our long distance endurance events? And they conclude, someplace in the article, it's because they live on a corn-based diet. Yeah. Starch. Yeah. Anyway, because of this misinformation, you're helpless, you're powerless until you realize that you are a starch eater, you are a starchitarian, you are a starchivore. Yes, you are. You are. That's the way you were designed. Like my kitty cat's a carnivore. That until you realize that, you will fail. Your skin will be greasy. It'll be clogged with. Your pores will be clogged and swollen. You'll have blackheads and whiteheads and pimples. You'll be bluish in color because the poor circulation to your skin. You'll likely be too fat, or you could be too thin. You won't be right, and you won't have the endurance you need. You won't be. Excuse me for using this term. You won't be beautiful. You won't have the appearance you want. I guess that's the right word, the appearance you want and deserve. You can't have it living on the wrong fuel. It's like if I took my old cat, Einstein, and I fed him baked potatoes. He'd look terrible after a couple of weeks. Right. And I could put as much makeup on him as I wanted. I could go to Nordstrom and buy $10,000 worth of dresses, and he'd still look like a dying cat. Ladies and gentlemen, until you get your food right, you're going to be like my dying cat living on baked potatoes.
Yeah, yeah.
He does well on steak, by the way, and chicken.
Yes.
Of
course, he's a cat.
All right. Am I being clear?
Yes, absolutely, and I love it. And I guess the big thing is people need to know the potatoes are great. It's the slathering it with all the fat, the margarine and the butter and the sour cream.
There's lots of other things to slather it with. If I open my refrigerator behind me, you'd find mashed potatoes cooked without any butter or oil of any kind. Yeah. You'll find a gravy. You'll find what we call, quote, meatloaf, which is it's not really soy-based. It's more of a tofu-based loaf because we don't use fake soy products. We don't use mocha burgers and soy hot dogs and that kind of stuff. We'll use a little tofu, a little bit, etc. there's reasons for it.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I forgot the point where I was trying to get to, like telling you about my mashed potatoes, but they're really good.
Yeah, I know they are. So it's just like we make a beautiful mushroom gravy and everybody loves it. And it's just instead of, it's the butter and the sour cream that tends to be the problem.
You know, what people like is they like salt and sugar and spice.
Yeah.
It's on the tip of the tongue.
Yeah.
Okay. What you have a taste bud that is repulsive to fat. In other words, if you can taste fat, you avoid it. Interesting. It's just the opposite of the other ones. You taste sugar, you seek it. You taste salt, you seek it. You taste fat, and some people avoid it. They naturally stay thin. There's also a natural taste bud on the tongue, separate from the sweet tasting taste bud, for starches, which is just as powerful as the taste bud for sugar. That was discovered at University of Oregon, just here about 3 years ago. In fact, probably about 4 city blocks from me. Anyway, the only way you can eat that piece of chicken that friend of yours talked to you about is to take the feathers off, right?
Yes.
You're going to eat it with the feathers on?
No.
Okay. We'll take the feathers off. Now is she going to eat it?
No.
No. Well, we'll boil it. We'll boil it for her. Now is she going to eat it? No, because it tastes yucky. What are we going to do to get her to eat it?
Right.
We're going to cover up the flavor.
Yeah, right.
With barbecue sauce or sweet and sour sauce or, whatever. The only way you can get these animal foods down is to cover them up with plant-based, well, not all plant-based, salt is not plant-based, but anyway, you can't get people to drink, well, you get them to drink milk because it naturally has sugar, but you can't get people to eat saltless cheese or saltless sugar, or saltless butter. They won't eat it. The only way I used to try and get patients to do this when I was on the kidney service. Back when I was a young training doctor, I'd come in and I'd say, you're dying of kidney disease. You must eat this saltless butter and saltless cheese. I come back the next day, they say, hey, doc, that's just a god of grease. I can't eat that.
Yeah.
You see, so the only way industry can get you to eat these foods that you think are so tasty is to disguise them.
Right.
You want to prove it to yourself? Pull a nice, big, thick, juicy, raw steak and eat it.
Yeah.
Boil it and eat it. It's not your food. Now, my cat Einstein, wow, he'd be over the counter on the table, raw cook. He don't care. That's his food.
Right.
And plus our food is so contaminated, adulterated, refined. I'm just talking about the basic food being wrong.
Yes, for sure.
It's as silly as feeding cow's milk to human beings.
Yeah.
Just like feeding human being milk to cows. What would happen if you feed human being milk to cows? What would happen?
They would probably die.
They would die. They would fail to thrive. The Humane Society would come and arrest you. You would go to jail for animal abuse, but you can feed your kids cow's milk. They can get snotty nose, obesity, constipation, diarrhea, ulcerative colitis, rheumatoid arthritis, etc. And we don't care.
Hey,
we don't care. It's true. It's just money, folks. And believe me, I want to stop here for just a minute because I just want to settle down and put this in context. This is not a conspiracy.
No.
This is all about money. These are nice people in the meat industry, in the dairy industry, in the drug industry, in the doctor industry. They're nice people. They're just trying to put shoes on the kids and pay the tuition for the next year and that last car payment. That's all they're doing. They're just trying to sell you stuff that they make. And unfortunately, the livestock industry, meat, dairy, fish, eggs, etc., they have almost as much money as God, and the pharmaceutical industry has more money than God.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a joke, folks. Gotcha. This is a new audience, Margot. I can't get too carried away. They don't even know me. I mean, I'm a little more excited this morning than I usually am. I think because of your presence, Margot. I really enjoyed being with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, did I answer the starch question? Well, let's talk about the food. The things I'm going to for oatmeal this morning. For breakfast this morning, I'm going to have oatmeal, and actually I'm going to have Dr. McDougall's Right Foods oatmeal. We have doesn't matter. We have 30, 40 products in about 8,000 stores in the U.S. called Dr. McDougall's Right Foods. And one of the products is an oatmeal. So I'm going to have that for breakfast this morning. And, well, you might have oatmeal. You could have hash brown potatoes cooked without grease. You have pancakes and waffles, all kinds of things. Lunch and dinner, you can have spaghetti and marinara sauce, steamed burritos. You could have mushu vegetables and rice. I mean, all kinds. Mary, my wife and partner for 47 years.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day coming up here pretty quick.
Yeah.
47 years. She's published over 4,000 recipes. There are about 6,000 recipes, 600 recipes on our website for free. They aren't particularly selected, so they're great recipes. We come out with new recipes every couple of weeks. We have 13 national best-selling books. 11 of them have recipes. We have a cookbook app, which is like $4.99, which has 1,000 recipes. We run a live-in program in Santa Rosa, California, where every month or two we take somewhere between 50 and 100 people, and we have several doctors who work there, including myself. And we take people, we change their diet, and we take them off unnecessary medications.
Yeah.
Our published data from Oregon Health and Science University, the medical school over here, that independently analyzed our program and published the paper. You can get it. You can find it on my website at drmcdougall.com, or you just look it up on PubMed.
So, okay, so that's great. And you know, toward the end of our interview, I'm going to ask you to let everybody know where we can find you, where they can find you and your website and all of that. But before we do that, I just have one, actually not, you brought up a topic, so maybe two more questions before we wrap this up. I want to ask you about fruit. And, you know, when my clients say to me they crave sugar, I say you're probably not eating enough fruit. So I wonder if you could,
how about starch?
Or starch, a carbohydrate, right? They need a carbohydrate. They need the sugar. Right. So
the problem with the sugar is this. You know, I recommend usually about 3 fruits a day. The problem with new people to this program is that the only thing they like on the program is fruit. So they eat 20 or 30 fruits a day. That's way too much simple sugar.
That's a lot.
Simple sugars and fruits are not very satisfying. What you're really looking for is the complex sugars and starch. That's what really offers the satisfaction of the hunger drive.
Okay.
So, yeah. So anyway, as far as fruit goes, it's a nice dessert, nice side dish, nice addition. There are some people who can't consume fruit who I take care of, and these are people with high triglycerides. Because eating too much fruit raises the fats in their blood, at least temporarily. It usually corrects itself. And I think you should limit your fruits to 1 or 2 a day if you're going to lose weight. I think 30 a day is too much.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
30 is a lot.
Yeah. So you got to be a little careful with the fruit.
Okay.
But otherwise, it's part of our program. The diet I recommend. I want to tell you the program I recommend in 2 sentences.
Okay.
The truth is simple and easy to understand, okay?
Yep.
The truth is simple and easy to understand. The McDougall program is starch-based. That means 90% of your food, you look at your plate, is starch. Rice, corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes. The McDougall program is a starch-based diet with the addition of fruits and vegetables. That's one sentence. The second sentence is the McDougall program does not contain animal foods or free oils. Free oils being things like olive oil, corn oil, safflower oil. You know, if you can tolerate the extra richness, you can eat olives and nuts. And if you have to gain some weight, they're not unhealthy, but they're just very, very concentrated in calories.
Right. Simple. It's so simple.
Well, it's the diet that 99.99% of the people who walk this earth have consumed. Think about it. Some of you are people of history. Some are people of geography. You have enough experiences yourself in travel and education to know this yourself. I mean, we almost lost World War II to starch eaters. Yeah. We lost the Vietnam conflict to starch eaters.
Yeah.
I mean, over 90% of the food on their plate was white rice.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You know the problem? The problem is there's too much money on their side. So they have money. We have truth and success. We published several scientific papers, which you can look up, peer-reviewed, of 1,615 people that we studied from our program. Nobody was excluded. The average weight loss in 7 days eating as much as you want was 3.1 pounds. That's average, eating as much as you want or could. In fact, teased by me to eat more. The average drop in cholesterol is 22 points in 7 days.
Yeah.
Average drop in blood pressure is 18 over 11 millimeters of mercury. But you must realize that we either reduced or stopped nearly 90% of the medications in these patients. Yeah. So in addition to them getting healthier, which is due to fixing the problem, which is the food, in addition to fixing the problem, we're also taking them off unnecessary medications. And I'm telling women not to do things like breast self-examinations. I mean, when you're taking a shower, you can slide over your breasts. But I mean, to fantasize, to focus your entire life on your breasts all day long is a harm to women. And what some women do, I mean, they do hourly breast exams. Yeah, this is just stupid.
So, Dr. McDougall,
anxiety and pain. But anyway, I do recommend some tests for women. I recommend pap smears if you're sexually active between the ages of 21 or 28 and probably 50. I recommend a colon exam. Yeah, but you leave the breast and the prostate alone, and the rest of the body usually needs to be left alone.
Now,
at least you shouldn't be actively looking for disease.
Right, but Dr. McDougall, some women are going to be wondering about, and worried about that. So maybe what they need to know is if they get the food right, they probably aren't going to get breast cancer.
Well, I wish that was the case. Okay, if they'd have gotten the food right since they were a child.
Okay.
You see, I've had a discussion just recently with women from Japan who have a breast cancer survivor group in Japan.
Yeah.
These women, which of course are women of the 21st century, have breast cancer, but they can't remember their mothers or grandmothers or anybody in their community having breast cancer. Nobody in Japan. And there were 70 cases of prostate cancer in Japan just after World War II. 70 cases. There are hundreds of thousands every year in the United States.
Right.
So, if you start as a child eating this way, but even if you have breast cancer and even metastatic breast cancer, I believe you can change the course of the disease. Right. And I published the first scientific study on this back in 1984. Mm-hmm. It took until 2015 for the American Cancer Society to come along with my recommendations. And that is that women who get cancer, or men with prostate cancer, or colon cancer, et cetera, as part of their fundamental therapy, the American Cancer Society told us on February 13th, 2015, that the patients should be put on a plant-based diet.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. And that's since February 13th, 2015. It's almost 4 years later, and your doctor is still breaking the law.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's nobody there to stop him or her.
No.
They're not bad people. They're just trying to keep the office doors open. They just don't want to be criticized. Can you imagine somebody standing up and saying, "Doc, get mammograms"?
Yeah.
I mean, H. Gilbert Welch who's one of the top professors at Dartmouth, came out over the last 10 years and said that we overdiagnose women with breast cancer using mammograms, so we ought to stop doing it. Well, he basically got fired about 4 months ago. Peter Gertzke, the head of the Cochrane collaboration, friend of mine, both these are friends of mine, head of the Cochrane collaboration, involves 40,000 scientists worldwide. They make recommendations to other doctors. He was just fired 4 months ago. And he has wrote a book. If you want to get a book to give you your doctor, Peter Gertzke, you can look it up on my website. Just go to drmcdougall.com, put in search engine, put in mammograms. Okay. He wrote a book called Mammography, Truth, Lies, and Controversies. Truth, Lies, and Controversies, Mammography. It's an almost unreadable book unless you are a scientist like I am. And then it's worthwhile. I mean, you can get through it. But your doctor could get through it. So if your doctor threatens a mammogram, remember Peter was the head for 15 years, the Cochrane collaboration, until he got fired 4 months ago for no apparent reason. Except that he came up against the drug companies finally to the point where they'd had it. Right. And the other companies. But anyway.
So Dr. McDougall.
Can you imagine your doctor coming out with a stand like that?
No.
To tell you that the mammograms do more harm than good. No. The colleagues would be laughing at him. The number one reason a doctor is sued is because of failure to diagnose breast cancer. They're scared of lawyers. I mean, this is terrible fear-based medicine. Fear-based medicine. To the point where, we're mutilating women. You probably don't want to get into that about amputating the breast and the psychological damage and the lymphedema and for no reason at all.
No, I know. But there is a beautiful story about Ruth Heydrich and how you actually helped her reverse her stage 4 metastatic breast cancer.
Could be, might be. She's still alive and well. She walked into my office in the late 1970s and said, I got good news and bad news. The good news is I got rid of a bad husband after 12 years. The bad news is I've got breast cancer in my lungs and my bones. I said, Ruth, this was back in 1979, I believe. I said, Ruth, I don't know exactly what to do. I mean, I'm just a kid. I'm in my 20s. Is that right? Certainly my early 30s. And I said, Ruth, look, I've been collecting stuff out of the library about breast cancer diet, so why don't you read it? Well, Ruth is, she went on last February, a year ago, February. She went on it was 2 years ago, our adventure trip with us. I'm in contact with Ruth all the time. She's 90 years old, had osteoporosis. Apparently, she survived her breast cancer. And I run across many other individual patients similar. And I would feel a little hesitant about saying this to you, except for the fact, if you go to my February 2015 newsletter on my website, you'll hear the discussion by the American Cancer Society of how diet needs to be a fundamental part of cancer treatment. Yeah. Okay? And it lists the different studies that show prolonged survival with prostate, melanoma, breast, colon cancer, etc., by changing to a more plant-based diet. Now I'm not weird anymore. I'm not ahead of my time. But my colleagues are still way behind, and you are getting abused. Yeah. So my suggestion to you is this. I know there are exceptions. Some of you have wonderful doctors. My recommendation is this. Stay away. And the only way to stay away, the best way to stay away in a healthy manner is to eat well, to become healthy. Don't have the need of the services of the doctors and the hospitals. In your town, look in your town, the biggest buildings, the shiniest buildings are cancer centers, heart centers, new hospitals, new doctor's offices. Yeah. Just get out of this business. And the way you get out of the business is you fix the problem, and the problem's the food. And it's very simple. You avoid two categories of food poisoning. These are animal products and oils. Yeah. And you live on a diet of starches, 90% vegetables and fruits, just like 99.5% of the people in the world lived on.
Yeah.
Ain't weird.
No, and delicious.
It's normal.
Yeah.
What's the, I mean, to ask, I don't know. Anyway, I hope I focused on women enough for you.
You sure did. And thank you so much, Dr. McDougall, for spending this time with me this morning and for sharing your wisdom. You're going to help a lot of women on this event. I know that. And I would love to just invite you to share your contact information, your website, whatever, if people want to get in touch with you.
Okay. The best thing possible is our 10-day live-in program. We also run weekends. We have a weekend in March. We run 10-day programs every month or two. We also run programs for businesses like Whole Foods Markets and CenturyLink. We take care of their employees. So maybe your employer would be interested in not spending gazillions of dollars on sick employees. So you can get involved in an employee program if you get your employer involved. We have a website that is so extensive. People look at the website. It's Dr. McDougall at Dr. McDougall. Well, it's Dr. McDougall. DrMcDougall.com. That's the website. Dr. McDougall. They'll come back to me after a couple of weeks of searching. They'll go, "Where's the gimmick? Where's the gimmick? Everything's free." Well, you know, everything pretty much is free except for the vacations and the trips to our 10-day clinic. But, you know, all the information, all the things that I told you about, my published studies, recipes, etc., drmcdougall.com. It's there. Awesome. That's the best way. And then when you get there, you want to sign up for something, there's an 800 number you can call.
Great. Dr. McDougall, thank you.
And we do, and by the way, we do webinars every Thursday morning. So if you're interested, or every other Thursday morning, if you're interested in hearing me again, unless I've completely turned you off.
No, not at all. I can't wait. Thursday morning.
All right. Every other Thursday, twice a month, I do a webinar. Awesome. And I interview people like Dean Ornish, Colin Campbell, and Elston, the last three I did.
Awesome. That's
Neil
great.
Bernard. And sometimes I do them by myself.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. McDougall. It's been an absolute pleasure. I feel so lucky that you're a part of this, and so lucky that I got to spend some time with you today. Thanks a lot.
Well, it's my pleasure. Folks, we have a world to save.
Yes, we do.
We focused on women. We stepped over into people in general, but we missed the most important part. Now, that is, I am a grandfather.
Oh.
I have seven grandchildren.
Yeah.
They have no future, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, we got to save our planet.
And unless you get this food thing fixed, by the way, livestock industry accounts for over half of the destruction of the planet.
Yeah.
Unless you get this fixed, your children and grandchildren, and maybe even you, have no future either.
Yeah.
Think about it. This is bigger than your diabetes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Super important messages today.
Okay. It was a pleasure.
Take care.
Bye-bye.